Vladimir Putin was sworn in as Russian president for a fifth time this morning. He won re-election in March, weeks after prominent opposition leader Alexey Navalny died in jail. His re-election was seen as unfair and undemocratic by Western governments. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Holly Williams is in London with the very latest on this. Holly, it's always great to see you. Let's talk about this inauguration. What did he say, Putin?
Yeah, good morning, Vlad and Anne-Marie. Well, Vladimir Putin took the oath of office with his hand on Russia's constitution, vowing to, quote, respect and safeguard the rights and freedoms of man and citizen. That's despite being elected in what was viewed by many people as a rubber stamp election. Western observers did not think that it was free or fair. He supposedly won 87% of the vote. And despite the fact that many think that Vladimir Putin has systematically gone about undermining Russian democracy. Now, following the oath of office, there was a religious service inside the Kremlin during which time Putin was blessed. That's very much in keeping with the image that he's constructed in recent years. He's seemingly sought to depict his rule as somehow ordained by God and his war in Ukraine as something of a holy war. The US and several other Western nations, including the UK, Canada and Germany, did not send representatives to the inauguration.
So at this point, when he's finished his term, he will have been in charge of Russia, ruling Russia longer than Stalin. What does a fifth term look like for Putin?
Yeah, it's extraordinary, isn't it? His first inauguration was back in the year 2000. And I don't know about you, but that seems like a very long time ago to me. If he serves out this current term, which is 6 years, it will make him the longest-serving Russian leader since Catherine the Great.
Wow.
Back in the 18th century, the 1700s. That's almost 300 years ago. And as you just pointed out, he's faced some stiff competition since the time of Catherine the Great, including all of those Tsars in Imperial Russia and Joseph Stalin, who served as the leader of the USSR for nearly 30 years. I think viewed from the West, Putin's legacy will be very much defined by the war in Ukraine. I mean, he presumably thought that he was going to win that conflict very easily. It's believed that he was lied to by some of his closest advisors in a system where telling the truth can be pretty dangerous. Tens of thousands of Russians have died in Ukraine. In fact, by some estimates, well over 100,000. Russia is now isolated from the West, and Putin himself is under indictment by the International Criminal Court. I think the other aspect of his legacy, at least viewed from the West, will be Alexey Navalny. I mean, he was Putin's most significant opponent, his critic-in-chief. When he died earlier this year in a Russian penal colony, there were howls of criticism from the West. And today we heard from Alexey Navalny's widow, Yulia, who said, quote, "Our country is being led by a liar, a thief, and a murderer."
Russia said yesterday, Holly, as you know, that it plans to hold these military drills, including practice for using tactical nuclear weapons. What is the strategy behind this?
Well, so Russia said that it's going to hold these drills near Ukraine, sort of for the possible use of tactical nuclear weapons. Now, tactical nuclear weapons are smaller nuclear weapons, smaller warhead, and the idea is that they would be used on a battlefield rather than a larger weapon that would be used to target a city. What is the strategy here? Well, I think it's pretty blatantly to intimidate. It's meant as a warning. It's not Russia's first attempt to do that. What is the intent? Well, presumably it's to pressure the West into dialing down its support for Ukraine, or even to pressure Ukraine into a compromise. And a compromise presumably would mean giving up some of Ukraine's territory. Up until now, the pretty consistent answer to that from the West has been that any kind of compromise would be unacceptable and would set a dangerous precedent for dictators or wannabe dictators around the world.
All right, Holly, thank you very much.